Good morning and welcome to Wake Up to Broker Up with Mark, episode number 11 for 2024, and part 2 of Real Estate Reality 2024, part 2. You know, I've been saying this for quite a while, and I know you've heard it if you attended any of the buyer-seller conversation workshops. There are two people who determine what a buyer's agent gets paid. Two people. The first is you determine what you get paid. You have to make a conscious decision on what's too much or what's too little as it relates to what you're going to get paid. And then secondly, it's the party you work for, the buyer. The buyer determines on the buyer brokerage agreement what you're going to get paid. Not the listing agent and not the seller. Now, why am I going over that yet again to make sure that you understand that? You determine what you're worth, what you work for, how much is too much, how much is too little. And then the other person involved in that equation is the buyer, who agrees to what you want to be paid and how you're going to get paid. So you've got to have the conversations with them as part of the showing of the buyer brokerage agreement and the discussion of the buyer brokerage agreement. The buyer determines what you get paid, not the listing agent and not the seller. So when you see zero commissions out there, you got to think in your head that that's just like a FSBO. And how would you approach a FSBO to get paid? Well, you talk it over with the person you represent, the buyer, and then the buyer and you would determine a strategy on how you would approach the seller to get paid. And the same thing happens now because the GAR created two special Stips, one for VA and one for general, that allows the buyer to request that the seller pay the buyer's agent's fee to the buyer's agent. But the buyer has to buy into that. The buyer has to authorize you to include that special stip in the purchase and sale agreement. And the only way that can happen is if you've had discussions with the buyer about how you get paid. Now, there's also been some discussion about buyers not wanting to see properties that the seller isn't paying the commission. I will caution you on that because I can tell you, if I was a buyer's agent out there in the market, I am going to show everything because I'm going to believe that I'm going to get paid something from the buyer or the seller if the buyer determines that a house that a seller has listed where they're not paying buy-side commission is the house they want to own. And the only way they're going to know that is if they cross the threshold and get to see the property. They may say, I don't want to see any like that. I'm going to say, if it were me, I'd be showing them to them. The worst thing that can happen is later on, down the line, they badmouth you because they made a decision not to see those properties and you didn't show them because they told you not to. And then guess who's going to be the person they blame? It's going to be you. Show them all. Figure out how to get paid. Have the conversations. That's it for part 2. Think about it. Just as I'm trying to get you to think about it with the sellers and the buyers you work with, and have those conversations. Enjoy your day. Enjoy your weekend. Thanks for watching. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.